Now, there was a second part of this GoFundMe story. So I'm very glad that you are bringing legitimate government power against GoFundMe here. I will never use GoFundMe again. Obviously, we can't trust it if they're going to take the money away from the causes we think we're giving to.
Now, Michael, that's not fair. If you want to support Black Lives Matter and Antifa, if you want to support rioters and people that are firebombing police cars, if you want to support people that are taking over police stations and declaring Chaz autonomous zones, GoFundMe is the site for you. So if you want to support Marxists, that's the place to go.
And you don't even need to donate directly to, you can donate to whoever you want. Don't worry, GoFundMe will redirect your money. You don't even need to think about it. So I'm really glad that you are leading on this issue and getting the government to look into this obvious fraud. But there was a second part to the story here, which is that after GoFundMe took all the money, a bunch of people then got together and started to fund the truckers, not through the government, obviously, not even through some private enterprise, some organization like GoFundMe. They did it through Bitcoin.
Bitcoin is a powerfully revolutionary technology. Cryptocurrency, I am very bullish on Bitcoin and on crypto generally. And I got to tell you, the same petty authoritarians who hate Joe Rogan, who hate the Canadian truckers, they hate Bitcoin, and they hate crypto. And there's some irony. So I've become a very vocal defender of crypto, probably the leading defender, or certainly one of the leading defenders in the U.S. Senate. And it's interesting, a lot of the Bitcoin and crypto folks were Bernie bros, just like Rogan, you know, the kind of cool socialists that seem hip. And yet these authoritarians hate Bitcoin and they hate crypto, and it's for the same reason. Why do they hate Joe Rogan? Because they can't control him. He's not subject to their authoritarian power. Why do they hate Bitcoin? Because they can't control it. It is a system of currency outside of the monopoly control of the U.S. government. And I got to say, as I've addressed, I spoke at a big crypto conference in Austin several months ago, and I said, listen, you need to understand this administration, I believe, is going to go after you and is going to try to destroy you. And by the way, that's a pattern of authoritarians. China, communist China, outlawed Bitcoin for the exact same reason. Why does Elizabeth Warren hate Bitcoin? For the same reason that she in China hates Bitcoin, because neither one of them can control it. And the theme through all of this is the power of freedom to be not subject to the arbitrary whims of those in government power.
Now, you have convinced me on this. I don't know anything about crypto. I'm a terrible investor. My investment strategy generally is buy high, sell low. That's whenever I'm involved. But what a lot of listeners probably don't know is that you are much hipper than I am. You have been on this crypto thing for a while. It's true. And you did make headlines because, well, crypto was collapsing and I was panicked and selling all my crypto. You were apparently buying the dip.
That is true. So I bought Bitcoin. I own Bitcoin. I think according to the public reports, there are 3 senators that own Bitcoin, me, Cynthia Lummis, and Pat Toomey. I'll say, 6-8 months ago, I didn't know a whole lot about Bitcoin and crypto. And I saw that it was growing and developing. And I said, look, I need to educate myself. And so I started setting up dinners with people involved in the crypto world and just sitting down and listening to them. And I started off with, all sorts of dumb questions. What is it? How does it work? And learning. And it's complicated stuff. And I certainly would not hold myself out as an expert today. But I started learning and listening to it and being fascinated by the development of it, by the ability. There's a book, actually, that Cynthia Lummis recommended to me called Layered Money, which I read, that talks about some of the history of the development of money from the beginning, but crypto is the next evolution of it. And I've gotten very bullish on crypto, especially Bitcoin, and really horrified at the efforts of Elizabeth Warren and big government Democrats to crush this growing industry. Texas is becoming an oasis for Bitcoin. We're seeing more and more crypto moving to Texas, particularly Austin. And so I started several months ago. I actually have a weekly buy order in for Bitcoin, that every week I just have an automatic buy. Look, given that there's volatility, I'm a fan of dollar cost averaging, which is just having a buy that occurs weekly automatically so that high or low, it averages out. And then what I ended up doing, I guess a couple of weeks ago, is when Bitcoin dropped about in half, I said, all right, I don't believe this drop. And so I made a bigger purchase. I bought 25,000 worth of Bitcoin. Under the Senate, you have to file a financial disclosure for a purchase over $1,000. So I filed that financial disclosure. And, usually those financial disclosures don't, maybe they get a little bip, but they don't get a whole lot of attention. It actually was fascinating, Michael, when I filed the financial disclosure. It generated a ton of press. And listen, I am bullish on Bitcoin. So I'm proud to say I got skin in the game. I believe in it. And that's why I invested in it. But I think we ought to be encouraging. I want cryptocurrency. I want America to be the hub of cryptocurrency globally. And frankly, I want Texas to be the hub of cryptocurrency in America.
So I have been convinced by you and by others. I mean, Ronald Reagan's favorite economist, George Gilder, was really bullish on blockchain technology years ago even, and said this is kind of the future of the internet.
Yeah.
And so what I'm convinced on here now is that this would be a way to avoid government control. This would be a way to avoid even the control of private businesses that are often working at the behest of the government anyway. But then my final question to you is this. If the government was able to clamp down on all these private businesses and build your own Google and all of that, and that hasn't worked, we saw it with the truckers, we're seeing it with Rogan too, what is to stop them from clamping down on Bitcoin? You've already heard rumblings out of the government. What is the likelihood that Biden does that?
So, look, they may well, and I am quite concerned about it. This administration could kill crypto. When I talked to the conference in Austin, there are a lot of folks in the crypto world who are a little bit utopian, that they have a view that we are inevitable, that Bitcoin is inherently superior to all other forms of money. I will say one of the things I like about it is it's a potential hedge against inflation. And given this administration spending trillions and driving up trillions in debt, I'm interested in the hedge in inflation as they're devaluing the dollar. And so I like Bitcoin as a hedge against inflation. But the point I made at this conference is y'all need to understand government can destroy you. I asked, how many of y'all have heard of Napster? And they all did. And I said, listen, it's easy to think we're happily in our sort of Austin, peaceful place. And I think Bitcoin is actually where Silicon Valley was maybe 15 or 20 years ago, which is at a fork in the road, where Silicon Valley could have chosen to go towards a libertarian utopia. Leave us alone, let's be entrepreneurs, let's have freedom. Or they could have done what they did, which is to go down the socialist woke path of we exercise power, we are totalitarian, and we're hard leftist woke. And unfortunately, Silicon Valley took the wrong choice. I think Bitcoin and crypto more generally is at that same fork in the road. I hope that they go the libertarian way. I hope they go the small business, leave us alone, let us be entrepreneurs. That is really potent, so I'm trying to encourage it, but absolutely there is a very real and potent threat from the Biden administration that they will go after it, that they will try to destroy it. And I'm going to fight against that because I think it is a huge, huge industry going forward, and I don't want to see the idiot politicians in Washington drive it out of America and send it overseas. It won't disappear. But Washington is perfectly capable of sending the jobs overseas and sending that business overseas. I think that would be catastrophic.